they don't see nothing. Farmtown kids saw the triangle hovering. Phone in his hand, got the whole thing filmed. Next day gone like it fell in a kiln. Black man's creeping, sir, that's a star. But his zigzag snaps like a muscle car. There's a base badge flash, don't take pics. Still the hanger got craft that can break physics. New spin tight with the same 10 lines, but the pilot can't sleep, sees the same 3 lights. Briefed in a room, this meeting ain't happened. Sign this paper, mine gets flattened. Flip that script when Coley goes live. Pull the tape back, play a slow rewind. Every little blur in the grain enhanced. Now the whole damn world in the trance like lights in the sky take over. Coley got the vibes, it's a takeover. Everybody in the club yelling, show us truth beyond disclosure. We want facts, we want closure. Hands up if you're tired of the cover. This the sound of the secrets uncover. Let's go.
Yeah, I know what I saw, don't gaslight me. Whole block froze when it's lit low key. Silent silver hanging over my street. Then it shot straight up like it skipped through beats. Grandma told tales, what they called a wild. Same marks on her arms since she was a child. Same humming in her bones when the sky turns green. Same tall visitor stepping into hard trees. Feel like fantastic. Pages blacked out to the truth leak loud from a single shout. Cold case photo, same bright sphere. Different decade, still the same damn fear. You can scrub that feed, you can spin that feed. But the pattern stay sharp like a laser beam. Coley in the booth, bring receipts, stack proof. Whole crowd chant when he hits that truth light.
Hands up if you see strange lines. Hands up if you heard them lies. Hands up if you're done with classify. Now scream if you want that file. Truth beyond disclosure. Truth beyond disclosure. When I say color, you say UFO. 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 When I say truth, you say let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. From the base to the bay to the backbone, sighting in the jet can't flip. But the tic tac coming from the dock in the lab, but the metal left in to the late night show where the story begins. This our time, this our show. Turn it up loud on SNX Radio. If you want that fire, better make that noise. Whole world sing with a million voices. Lights in the sky take over. Coley got the vibes, it's a takeover. Everybody in the game now show us truth beyond disclosure. When the facts meet that curve, hands up if you're tired of the cover. This is the sound of the sinks that cover. Truth beyond disclosure. Beyond disclosure. Beyond disclosure.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of SNX Radio. I know it's a little bit earlier on a Saturday, but we definitely have a really good reason for that with a great guest. But before I get started, I wanted to run through chat. Blazer, how are you? Thank you so much for all you do. Poncho, I know that you have stuff going on today and you still showed up. That's awesome. And my kiddo who's in the audience, this is Travis Wood. It's really Brody. But he's here because I'll get into that right after. But anyway, we have BMR, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. If you guys have not gone over and subscribed to his channel, definitely do so. He's got absolutely wonderful content. Gary, hey Gary, and thank you again for all you do. I appreciate it. Kitty Catty Whack, how are you? Awesome to see you. And I don't want to miss anyone. Oh man, we have a great show. I know I saw more, so let me see here. Gary, nice to see you. I know I said before, but thank you so much for everything that you guys do, all the wrenches and everybody. I appreciate all the time and effort that you put into everything. Hi, Lynn. Nice to see you. And Mad Paximus, great to see you. The chat is really going. Maya Starfire, if you have not gone over to Maya's channel, also she joins me on Mystical Mondays. So Maya, so great to see you. And Jonacide, nice to see you. Welcome. Oh my gosh, you midnight night watchers. I can't talk in the daytime. Here it's only 2 in the afternoon, but our guest. He's over in the UK. So Kurt W75, hey, it's great to see you. Great to see you. All right, and that is Brody. He's gonna kill me after for saying this. But then the reason my child is in here is because not only because he does watch the show from time to time, you'll see him, and now you know who he is when he pops up. But he really likes the guests that I'm having on because my Brody is a wrestler. If you've heard me talk about the stories of parenting behind that. And Jay Austin, who is our special guest, was an MMA fighter. So he's really interested. So I'm like, we definitely have to go down there and talk about that too. But Jay is serious. He's a great person. He really is. I've gotten to know him over the past few. He's great. He's absolutely just down to earth, a wonderful person. And I'm going to let him bring him out because he has a show coming. That's going to be coming back out. And he could probably give a better introduction than I could. But welcome to the show, Jay. Why don't you tell everyone? Yeah, it's so nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Tell everybody who you are and a little bit about yourself for those people that don't know who you are over here in the United States.
Sure. So, my name's Jay Austin. I run a site on Facebook called the Anomaly Archives. So I've been doing that since 2013 when I went public with this. Before that, grew up regular guy, I guess. Interesting, as you talked about wrestling. Became a pro wrestler at 15 years old. Kind of had a bad injury when I was 21. Fractured my neck in 2 places and avoided surgery. So I kind of took a couple of years out from doing that. And he transitioned into mixed martial arts or cage fighting, as it's more commonly called, and had a career up until 2017 when eventually I was forced to retire because of injury and father time catching up with me. So, but since then, the UFOs or UAP, as it's now termed, has always been a big part of my life. It hasn't dominated it until probably the last 10 years when I've gone down the rabbit holes that so many of us kind of venture down. But, if ever there's a time to be into this subject, I think it's now.
Oh, I agree. 100%. This is the furthest I've seen it come. And there were stagnant years.
If you'd have said to me, 15 years ago that, I'd play a very small part in this, I'd laughed and said, never in my lifetime. It was the same old faces kind of going over, the Roswells, and in the UK, we've got Rendlesham and stuff like that. And it was just a lot of, very good stuff, but it was regurgitated.
Yes.
Whereas now, since 2017, we seem to be on this fast track to all this new information coming out. And
isn't that crazy? That's the year I experienced one, was July 2017.
Wow.
That's interesting that you say that.
What was it that you seen?
I saw a craft that came over. I was in a cemetery, like MUFON came out and measured it afterwards, but I was 30 feet away. The thing was 50 foot in diameter. It creeped 1 mile over to the cemetery. And it was like, I was up on a hill in this old cemetery. And that thing was like 2 trees. I don't know why I felt even safer with 2 trees, but that's how low it was. Like it was like, I was like, there was nowhere that I could run or hide to. I was doing paranormal investigation there. They had like old, yeah, it was crazy. I've seen hundreds.
Is this back in Ohio where you're from?
Iowa.
Iowa, sorry.
Yeah, but people, no, that's better than most. Usually it's Idaho, but nobody's going to remember Iowa, especially, I know.
I don't know. My geography is not that bad.
Oh,
but my introduction to this was probably back in 1994. I had a sighting, was corroborated by a neighbor who lived in the street behind the house where I lived. And if you want me to tell you a story, I will.
Yes. And you're an experiencer too. Like, I think it's important, like
I would not use that word because I don't, compared to some people's stories, I think mine are pretty boring. There's no,
No.
you know,
That's okay. Let me tell you my theory on this, Jay, is I
yeah,
think that, and I have seen it firsthand in all the experiences that I've talked to. They start off and there's the truth, but then they've embellished. They have taken about a small 8%. And I've talked to a lot of people, and
yeah,
I always say, your story's good enough. Stick with there, because I've heard it so many times. And I mean, big, elaborate chapters added on here
yeah,
that I knew were not there, because I've talked to them for years now, and
yeah.
interviewed them. But so it is, and you
Yeah, there is
totally
that side
like,
of it. But,
yeah.
like for me, I'd not long lost my father. I was living in a place called Chester in the United Kingdom in the northwest of England.
Oh,
And I can only sort of say it's very similar to like when you have a lightning strike in the storm, very close to your house, and it kind of illuminates the whole bedroom.
oh wow.
So this light was illuminating my father's bedroom. I moved into it for comfort after he passed. And, straight away, I kind of thought, oh, okay, there's the police helicopter is out. Sometimes that has like searchlight on it. And because our back garden sort of neighbours onto fields, I think I was more paranoid about there being burglars or something of that nature, in my back garden. So, but when I've looked out, we had like the big bay window at the back of the house, on the bedroom, and I've looked out, and it was like I say, it was like a white light, a bit like one of those PIR lights that come on the sensors. But our neighbour's garden was lit up, and then the neighbour to them, their garden, this light just went for as far as you could see, and naturally, there was no sound like from here you can kind of hear a helicopter up to 2-3 miles away because of the rotor wash on it.
Oh,
There
definitely.
was nothing like that. So being a bit more curious, I think I would have been about 13-14 years old, I opened the window and I did an incredibly stupid and foolish thing where I jumped upon the windowsill, and now I'm hanging out the window to get a better view of this.
What
Holding on.
14-year-old? No, come on. Now
Yeah,
that'd be
feel it.
something I was due to. You're fine.
Yeah, you're going to be doing that at 45, trust me. But from my vantage point, all I could see was like because bear in mind, this would have been about, I reckon, about 3:30, 10 to 4 in the morning. And the sky was that very sort of midnight blue kind of color, almost similar to your microphone just then before it's changed.
I don't know
And
why it's changing like
all I
that,
could
but
see was this kind of blinding light, and then this straight edge that went on for ages. Now, the back of our house, there's a crescent, like a horseshoe crescent behind with houses on. And a buddy of mine lived literally on that street called Balta Crescent. And he said that he had the inclination. He woke up, which was very unlike him, went to his bedroom window, and he said he saw, and he said it was the size of a football field, probably 300 to 400 feet above the house, this black triangle. Now, bear in mind, this is 1994, so there was it was still flying saucers, in popular culture. So
I'm looking up how big a football field is, so I want to see in comparison, because you guys are in a different metric system than we are.
Oh yeah. So when I
I'm
say
just-
football, I mean soccer.
Yeah.
So
No. Do you like what? Oh, okay. I got you. How what would you? I guess how many feet do you think it was?
He said it was sizable. That's the only thing I can go on. And as I said, like a football pitch is, it depends, but say like the biggest football pitch, they're very similar to like your NFL fields.
Oh, okay. I'm just trying to put it into perspective, because that seems huge. You see stuff above huge.
Well,
that's
we lived in a three bedroomed house at the time, and all those houses were 3 bedrooms. So if I've seen the back end of this, which would have been the straight line, then you're talking at least a couple of 100 feet, and that's just the back end of it. or one, you know, because
100,
obviously,
it says it's about 150 feet wide. So that would
yeah,
have been like triple of what I saw. And what I saw was huge.
yeah,
Wow.
this thing was huge. But the crazy thing was I heard a bang behind me, and being, you know, 14 and a weird time in the morning, I jumped, turned around to see what it was making the bang behind me, turned back around, and whatever it was had gone. Now, when I spoke to the neighbor that had witnessed this, he said it didn't shoot off, it didn't shoot up. He said it was like you just turned the lights off on this thing and it was gone.
Wow.
So, you know, and as I say, back then, this is a good sort of 2, 3 years before the internet was in its infancy. You know, I think the first
So
triangle was
what
on the.
year would have this been in?
So
Is
this would
this
have been about 94. Now,
94? Okay.
bearing in mind, you had, I think a year later, you had the Belgian wave of the black triangles that were seen over Belgium that entire summer.
Well, 95 was the kickoff really for the internet
Yeah,
too. So that's
yeah.
like right before. Okay. That
But
makes
you
sense.
also had an incident at RAF Cosford, which, as the crow flies, isn't too far away from where I am. And again, that's been documented by people such as Nick Pope, who was
Mhm.
working for the Ministry of Defence back then. I actually have a buddy who knew one of the guys on the gate that who was stationed that night, and he swear he won't come forward and speak, unfortunately, but he sort of, you know, swears by testimony that again this thing was absolutely huge and silent. You know, that's the crazy thing about these things, isn't it? Is, you know, and I know there's speculation about TR3Bs and is it RTEC and whatever else, but yeah, it was
I
a
knew
mad
somebody
time.
that was put in a group with the guy who Secret Machines was written about in Tom DeLonge's book. His name was David, and he was actually over there and he showed pictures. And this is before like we had this AI or anything. And it was a group
Mhm.
on Twitter, and he showed us pictures of him going in and actually piloting the TR3B. So there's not a doubt in my mind that
Wow,
yeah.
that's pretty incredible. That's pretty
It
incredible.
once the mystery, you know, we know, yeah, without a
Yeah,
shadow of a doubt, they exist.
yeah, but
And
how long we've had that tech, you know,
mhm.
is, I've seen, you know, theories that we've had it since the 60s and 70s. Now, weirdly, I think it's Michael Schratt, who's like, you know,
Oh, I know
bit of a,
Michael.
yeah, bit of an expert in terms of like, you know, stuff that flies in the sky and exotic
Mhm.
propulsion. And like he's, you know, he's theorized we're about 100 years ahead of what we're currently seeing in our inventory flying
Oh,
in the
yeah.
sky.
Government holds technology 40 years in
Oh,
advance here before. So where does that tell you we are, like, with all this stuff? 40 years? I mean, that
yeah,
is we're talking how big of a 10-year gap difference
yeah,
makes. I mean, 40
yeah.
years? Like, that's scary.
It is scary, but yeah, that's the sighting that kind of piqued me interest. And you know, I think X Files came into sort of pop culture shortly after that. But there wasn't a lot of stuff out there, you know, like when I did sort of search for UFOs, I think it was mainly books, or like I got given some National Geographic books and it had like, you know, what was the case now? Kenneth Arnold sightings. It had
Yes.
the flying hubcap. I forget the guy's name.
Oh, are you talking about Billy Meyer?
No, way before Billy Meyer. This would have been. I forget the surname. It was on the tip of my tongue. Maybe it'll come back to me later.
Oh, yeah,
But
oh.
still, it was, you know, it was flying discs and flying saucers way back then. So um, yeah, so I kind of, you know, put it to the back of my mind, and it was kind of a maybe, maybe not scenario. And you know, just sort of grew up and got into the wrestling, the MMA stuff. And then I moved to London. I met a girl and moved to a place called Bromley in southeast London. And we lived in like an attic conversion. And obviously, we had sort of the window that opens in the attic. And we were in the flight path for Gatwick Airport. And, often I was a smoker back then. I'd sort of smoke out the window and, couldn't sleep at 1, 2 in the morning and be looking out and just seeing, like getting to know obviously what flight navigation lights are, but then also seeing these solid balls of light that would appear. And you're like, okay, that's a pretty big plane. And then it would just literally vanish in front of your eyes, no blinking lights or, because I'm aware aircraft coming into land, it has, sort of landing lights on it.
Yeah, yes.
But to completely vanish, those navigation lights on either wing are always there, and usually one under the cockpit.
I'm a
So-
FAA Part 141. I only have a single engine, but I'm a IFR pilot. Like certified
Wow.
IFR. Yeah, so I know how the lighting, and I work for the airport
Yeah.
as a flight dispatcher. I did that for years. So I'm like, there's a difference. You're right. You
Yeah.
can't hide those lights are on, the landing lights, the gear, they have to be on. So there is not, yeah, I get that. No, I can
Yeah,
tell you
so
1,000%. Yeah.
it was only like I ended up moving back from London. It would have been about 2009. My mum got sick, and I moved home and had a bit more time on my hands. So, and obviously now the internet is a thing. So it was just like, I think my top 3 things probably would have been something like cats with cucumbers, UFOs, and soccer, as you guys call it in America.
is
And I started to look up like all these sort of cases that, weren't in the mainstream ether. And I found out like all around the world, there was a community of these people. So me and a buddy at the time, I was like, do you know what? I want to create a website or like a web page. Facebook obviously was huge back then. So it was the case of like, coming up with this idea. And initially I thought, okay, I want someone who specializes in crop circles. I want someone who specializes in abductions, so on and so on. But sadly, ego plays a part of this, and that where I tried to bring these people together, more often than not, they came with such great ideas, but never sort of followed them through. So I took the initiative to kind of go out on my own. And by this time, I'm still learning, still progressing with my own experiences. And that got me to the point where, as you know yourself, with this subject, it splinters off and you can go down so many different rabbit holes. But
so many. Yes.
Oh, yeah, crazy. So I was living back at home, 30 something, and I started to wake up. And back then, I didn't even know this was a thing, but I started to see these shadow figures over my bed. And I would wake up and I'd be,
And when is this? Is this right after?
This would have been 2010, and it lasted for a couple of years.
And when did you first experience them?
So I can't tell you the exact date, but it would have been literally when I moved home.
Would have been before that date or after that date that you started?
It would have been 2009 onwards.
Okay, so it after.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is when I've gone down all these rabbit holes.
I know I have to know. Like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Yeah, no, it's cool. But like, initially, obviously, it scared the hell out of me. And you jump onto Google and it comes up with sleep paralysis and all these kind of prosaic explanations, whether you're taking antidepressants or whatever. And it wasn't until a buddy of mine sent me one of George Norrie's Coast to Coast episodes that was on shadow beings. And I had to listen to it. I think it was like 3 hours long. And he had some people calling in. And what they were describing was exactly the same as what I was experiencing. Now, I knew these were real manifestations, if you want to call it that, because when I used to box, my boxing gloves get sweaty. So when I come in from training, I hang them on the radiator and literally to air out. Now, I had things where, like, as I said at the time, I'm not ashamed to say this scared the hell out of me.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
one thing to see things in the sky, but when it's in your bedroom when you're
Yeah,
asleep,
it's a bit different, isn't it?
yeah,
Oh,
and then
yes.
the whole waking up and not being able to catch your breath. Like, I've never had sleep
Mm-mm.
apnea. I've never had a panic attack, never had heart trouble. And it would always be waking up. And so with this fear, it's like, I used to sleep with the duvet sort of wrapped around my head. And I've woken up and, like, as far as I'm aware from what past girlfriends have said, I sleep in one spot. I sleep on my side.
Do
I do
you
not.
sleep under pillows or under blankets?
No, like under the blanket, but like my right arm's got to be under the pillow. Sleep there.
No, I have that, like, yeah, it's weird. There's like, and I was explaining before, and I asked you backstage, is it okay
Yeah,
to share with you? So there's always qualifying questions, and any experiencer, A, they have a paranormal ability to see past the veil in some way. B, they're always of an Irish or Native American descent, like if they're experiencing it this way. So I
yeah,
mean, I'm not talking about all together, but this way, the same way that I do, you do, these always seem to be exactly the way that and I've talked to how many people. So,
yeah,
and they don't have a lot of them don't have compatible blood types with their parents, as you didn't either,
yeah.
or I didn't either. So it's like all these crazy similarities that are. What do you think that's all about?
It's weird, isn't it? Like, because like I've been following the work of obviously Dr. Gary Nolan recently and looking
Mhm.
at some of the podcasts he's done. And obviously, Lou Elizondo as well has come out and said when they were studying, I think it was when they wrote the book Skinwalkers at the Pentagon with James T. Lukatsky and George Knapp, when they were looking at the physiological effects of some of the people that were coming into contact with these craft and experiencing, they all found this part of the brain in these subjects that is usually redundant in like 90% of humans.
Oh, wow.
'Cause we use like one third of our brain capacity.
Mhm.
Now, aside from obviously, things like skin cancers and whatever else, they found in all these people that were having these experiences, let's call it that for want of a better word, they found that this one part of the brain was switched on where it was redundant in other humans.
Oh.
So they called it the antenna. It has got a specific name, but
Ooh, that's
yeah,
interesting.
like
Wow.
Lou's talked about it a lot
I'm gonna
on some of the podcasts he's given in the last year or so. Now, I
I'm gonna
find that really interesting that they're looking at that.
yeah.
And obviously, like, I don't know if you know about this Havana syndrome thing.
Mhm. Oh,
They've
yeah.
been
I talked
looking
to
into.
Jesse Bartell. Yeah,
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it
not.
crazy?
It's not.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing. But there's some pretty. If you look into sort of like Gary's background, like he's an immunologist. He makes cancer saving machines and equipment that later get sold to the medical profession. So this is an extremely sort of well-versed guy that they've come to him and asked him to check out these people, these experiences.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Have you ever had any markings or anything?
Yeah. So I
Oh,
was going to get. We'll get to this.
I'm sorry, I'm getting
So
ahead. I have
no,
2,
no, no.
so don't
It's
feel
cool.
bad. Yeah.
So but back to what I was saying about these shadow things. One of the things that seemed a common trait that I picked up on is that there are things when you're talking about frequencies. So we think of like love being the highest frequency we can exist at as humans. Hate, negativity, fear, there are things that feed off that. Which would probably explain why, I was so fearful about these things and it kept happening. So I went during this time period, I went with a friend of mine called Jason, who was kind of like my mentor into this at a very early stage. And we went to a place called Living St. Anne's near Blackpool for this UFO conference called Probe. And back at the hotel where some of the speakers were staying, we had a couple of drinks in the evening, and I was kind of wandering around these different rooms. And this one guy had a table with about 10 to 12 people sat around it, all kind of sharing their experiences. And I thought at the time, and again, probably my ego talking, I thought, I'm an ex-cage fighter. For me to speak publicly, because I look physically strong, for me to say, this thing that I don't understand that's been happening to me scares the hell out of me.
Wow.
It's going to sound like the dumbest thing ever. And I thought,
I think it sounds like the most powerful thing ever that you're coming out there and doing that. That's amazing.
It does now, but when you're
going through it,
when
yeah, I
you're
get
new
it.
to this side of things, like say, seeing something nuts and bolts in the sky or a plasma orb is one thing.
Right.
Having things invading your
Right.
bedroom
Oh,
is
no, you're
another.
right. Yeah, no, you're right. I said every
So,
experience I would have, felt like it was less credible after
yeah.
each one. That
So,
sucks, yeah.
going back to the markings, I moved out my parents' house. I moved in with a girl in North Wales called Claire, and she kind of watched things over my shoulder. A lot of this subject scared her, and in her own words, she would say, she exists in her bubble, and anything that threatens that, in a reality base, I guess, she wasn't that into. And I woke up one day. Now, you could prick a single hair from my arm and it would disturb my sleep. Incredible light sleeper.
Yeah.
And I woke up and she sort of joked that I'd been with another woman because I had these scratches on my back. And I, straight away, it's like, no, I haven't been near another woman because I know you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I get where you're going. Oh,
You feel
man,
like you
yeah.
don't justify yourself. So she said that these markings almost look like a branding on my back. I actually do have the pictures up on my social media. So I messaged this Jason, this buddy of mine, and he does like image analysis work. And he'd actually give me a UV torch or a UV light. He said, okay, go into a dark room, get your girlfriend to take a picture and put the UV torch on it. And I've actually
would have known this. You had that experience too. Then did you? Go ahead. Go ahead.
So what obviously you could see with the naked eye, which looked like these. I think it looks. Some people have said it looks like the word "find." I think it looks more like a 201 something.
A number.
Now this is right beneath my shoulder blades. This is in a place I cannot mark myself. And literally now I've got a guy called Ralph Keaton who's like a unorthodox exorcist in the UK, and I showed him the images on my phone, and he seems to think it's symbolism. So he said he's going to look into this for me.
This just okay. Do you know who Daryl Sims is? This kind of just clicked.
Yeah.
He's the one that told me, because I said, when I described what they look like, I said they look like, do you remember the glow in, I think you're a little bit younger than me, but the glow in the dark, it was like a really creamy white color, and you slap it on stuff and it sit out in the sun and then would glow this like green glow. I said, I felt like they were absorbent of the light, and they were like the glow in the dark, like when any sort of light hit, that's what it looked like. And he said that people, if they shine the black light, will see the fluorescent, like they can even see it handprints. It takes a couple days to go away. If I had known this, and this is years ago, and then I was like, are you serious? He's the only other person I've heard talk about this. So then I was like, wow, this is really weird. But when you're saying that, I'm wondering if they're not like that, so it glows like that's maybe how they're marking us, and we don't see it.
Maybe it's visible to them, and
maybe it's on their, I don't know if it's on their finger, whatever, but it seems to be like it, whatever it is will transfer in fingerprints on other people. And I'm like,
absolutely.
Whoa, that is crazy.
So, the markings kind of, at the time, I'm not going to lie to you, like my mental health because of this was awful. Because I'm like,
Weird.
you know, you're suddenly faced with so many questions. Why me? What have I been doing? You know, have I looked into occultism? Have I messed around with Ouija boards or anything like that where you can bring things through? So I've gone to this UFO conference in Lytham St. Anne's, and this guy who's one of the speakers is holding this sort of table and, you know, holding conversation with these people. And I waited for my turn and I decided to speak up. And, you know, everyone was incredibly understanding. It was explained to me that this thing, which I didn't understand and now do, about frequencies and how they work with this thing that we now call consciousness. So the end of the conversation, the guy comes up to me and he says, "Can I give you a hug?" Now, I'm not, especially with strangers, I'm not really a massive huggy type person. But this guy whispers in my ear and he says, "I'll have a word with someone and this will all stop." And I'm like, it's a pretty bold claim to make from another human being, right?
Yeah.
But he said that, like, you know, his sort of caveat after that was that I would start seeing a lot more things in the sky. And I'm thinking, come on, man, like give it up sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of had me before with some of the stuff you were talking about, but you've kind of like now lost me with this pretty bold claim.
Yeah, he wasn't wrong, was he?
No, literally, I went back home, explained this to my then girlfriend.
How did you do that?
Yeah, so like she obviously she knew about like my involvement with this, but like she didn't really want to know too much,
Sure.
you know, 'cause it scares her. You know, I get that, and it's that whole fear of the unknown. But where we lived in North Wales, we were looking out the bedroom window, just kind of having a general discussion, and it would have been January, February, clear skies, midnight blue, you know, color sky, a few stars and planets that were visible. And I said to her, what would it take for you to like believe? And she was like, you know, give some explanation that she'd have to see something with her own eyes. Excuse me. And
you have to. You really have to. I mean, that's not even, but I get
it gets better. It gets better. So I then turned to her and I said, I'd love it if you would see something now that you can't explain. It's not blinking. It's blatantly not a drone or an aeroplane or any other sort of conventional aircraft that we know of. And this, I was literally seconds after I said that, this huge bright star appeared. What looked like a star from a distance, pure white.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It just started moving towards
The
the
night
house.
creeper. I call him the night creeper.
Yeah.
I have names for him. I saw him. Yeah, but he's like the glowing, like it's almost like a sphere, but it's electrical sphere. Yes.
It was crazy, you know, probably the size of like a beach ball or something.
Yeah. Paul in chat, we've talked about it before. Paul, I have video. I've got him on video several times. But May 7th, 7 Abel, we came in contact. Here we're the same birthday, but just like exact years apart.
Okay.
And he was talking to him at that time because this is when it was like super high. The activity comes to a peak, you know? I was seeing him too. And I was like, people don't understand. It's like the size of a beach ball. But
crazy.
yes, no, I can totally cover it.
You know, like when people say, oh, well, you must have seen a drone or, you know, you've seen, you know, a flare or something like that. I've seen all these things. And whenever I've seen these things, that they're nothing that I would deem to be conventional.
No.
This thing.
Did you get pictures or anything? How many of you do you think you've seen?
So I got, and it probably would have been like an iPhone 3G, I'd imagine back then. So like I've ran downstairs to the back garden as this thing's passing over, and I've got a shaky video of a dot.
Yeah, I know.
Because it's like it looks so more grandiose than what you've actually captured on film.
That is so true. I'm like, "Oh my god, this is" my brother, because he saw it and he's gotten 'em on, like, video too, and he's like, "Don't be surprised if it's not exactly what" and it's by design. When they're
Yeah,
going slow and low and creeping like that, sphere does, like, it's hard to tell where the hell it's at, and I'm so zoomed in on it, I don't care if there's lights in the background, I don't care if it
yeah,
shows, like, this is, like, the craziest thing you're seeing, and there's this whole, like, experience, like, of a feeling that goes
yeah,
with it. It's like, I used to get so excited. After the first one, I was scared to death. I mean, like, terrified. But I couldn't I faced it, so then I was like, "Okay, I can do this." But I would get so excited because it was just they
yeah,
kept going and going, and it peaked. It really did
yeah.
at a certain point.
It's crazy how it works because thereafter that sighting, she's like, obviously, what the hell have I seen?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I can tell you what it isn't. I can't tell you what it is. Because back then, like now it's a thing, and you've got, obviously, I forget her surname, but Beatrice that's like been investigating the orbs. Um, she's a brilliant mind for this stuff. So it's like, now it seems to be more in the ether that we're discussing this, these orbs, shall we say. Because a lot of the time when you say orbs, people think of like the paranormal ghosty shows,
Mm-mm, no.
where they see like a
Yeah,
little ball of light going
I know what
past
you're
them.
talking about. These are electrical balls,
Yeah, yeah,
electrical orbs. Yeah, totally
yeah.
different. Oh,
So,
yeah.
being a smoker at the time, I'd go out on my own, I'd go out with other people, and we kind of look up at the night sky when it'd be clear. And you'd see things that, for all intensive purposes, would look like satellites, but there'd be three. So there'd be like one here, and then one here, and one there. And they were all going at different speeds because the one that was at the back would kind of fall behind and then speed up to catch up and then slow down again. But then all of a sudden, these things, so you're like, okay, that we know satellites orbit Earth, and obviously the natural curvature of the Earth could allow for that. But literally, seeing these things stop on a dime and then do like, a right hand turn or a left hand turn, it's kind of like, it's just not stuff. So, it became more and more. Me and that girl sort of eventually split up. We went our separate ways. And I moved to a town called Buckley and met another girl, was with her a couple of years. And we used to sit out in the summer months, with a big fire pit.
Yeah.
And like we'd sit out till 2, 3 in the morning, bottle of wine or whatever, some food. And like we just started seeing the most bizarre things kind of flying literally over our heads, a couple of 100 feet above us. And it became a thing where it was like every weekend, the kids would be at the dad's or whatever, and we'd sit out and like she was a full-on believer. But then she saw something when she was a child that she said was the Easter Bunny,
Oh, wow.
but bipedal and I guess like you would see on the sort of like Alice in Wonderland or some of these
Oh,
cartoons,
wow.
but it was physical. And she said no one believed her as a child, but it absolutely scared the hell out of her. So with what I was into, she was a little bit more open to it. And then there was one day, so I think it would have been about May, June time, Sunday morning, because I was having a lie in. And the kids come running upstairs and, like excitedly wake me up and they're like, oh my God, you've got to come and see this. And I go downstairs, run into the garden, and there's probably about 5 to 10 miles away from where we were, but it looked like a giant acorn sat in the sky. So a smaller ball on top and then a larger ball on bottom.
Oh, okay. Did
And
it break and
no, it didn't break, but to me, the smaller ball on the top looked like it was spinning sort of anti-clockwise.
I don't
And
mean
then
like break apart. They like spin like almost like you would think opposite, but like a barbell, but one's
yeah,
like slightly like yeah.
but that was it. It looked like one was spinning sort of
Mhm.
counterclockwise and the other was clockwise, and it was giving off all these crazy lights.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah.
it was there for, I say, a good half an hour,
Oh, cool. It stayed for a
all
while then.
three of us. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I've got video up on my page, my social media of this. It's not the best footage because obviously I'm trying to zoom in.
Mine bad.
iPhone cameras are not the greatest
And you're
compared
so
to.
excited. I feel like and then when the closer you'd get to it, either sometimes I had one that would make it look like the static, like on the old TV sets, like the snow. I had one that would, it would some of them would take the power out. Some of them would go and it was just like the closer you got in on it, you could see it coming in and out of focus. And it
Yeah,
was just
yeah,
like so the best, even though like video, I was like, video is more compelling because back
yeah,
then I was like, I gotta show somebody. Like I thought,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
I was, like, in an urgency to report this, like, I thought this
yeah,
was and then I found out, nobody's like, listening, and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then I just started that's what got me on too and switched my whole
yeah.
course of life from that point forward. I was like, "Wow," like, nobody
Well,
had the answers.
nah, this when I had a buddy take some still images from the video that I took,
Yeah.
and sort of, put a couple of filters on them to bring out. And the stills are better than the video because the
Yes.
stills, you can actually see the shadowing
See
on
the
this thing.
yes,
Now,
yes.
years later, I'll tell you a story relating to this. I was at a conference called Awakening, a big conference we have here in the UK. We've had Daryl Sims over, James
Oh,
Fox,
cool.
um,
I know Daryl
Travis
too.
Walton came over for that.
Cool.
Absolutely incredible. And I was
Daryl's
outside.
actually going through, some MRIs that I had of mine right now, and he's gonna do, like, an
Okay.
analysis yeah, I'm releasing I said, "No, I'll release my medical records are and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna have him go through and" so, yeah,
Wow.
he's really cool. He's been on, like, a few times. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Definitely.
And obviously, his stuff with the implants that I've seen
Mhm.
about it, I think is brilliant.
I do
Because
too.
obviously Dr. Roger Lear passed away sadly, who was one of the main original researchers into, the alien implants, if you want to
Oh,
call them that.
yes.
So, it's good that there's someone to carry that on. But yeah, so like, obviously, I had this sighting. There's these still images. One's in black and white, one's in color. And I'm showing a few people outside at this awakening conference. Now, you get probably close to a couple of thousand people that come through there over the course of the weekend.
Oh, sure.
And this one girl, was kind of looking over my shoulder. And I think she was from Norway or Sweden, somewhere Scandinavia way. And she went, oh my God, we saw the exact same thing. And then
Wow.
she FaceTimed her mate back home in Norway or Sweden, I forget. And she turned the camera around on the phone and zoomed in on mine, and you could hear her friend shock, and she was like, "Oh my God." Obviously, there was a few expletives in there, but she was like, "That is the exact same thing as we saw." And I just
Wow.
find that kind of like uncanny. But the crazy thing about that sighting is like I looked everywhere to see if there'd been anyone else that had seen it.
Wow.
Nothing in the local newspapers, nothing on the internet. Now, this would have been over the region, I reckon, called Denbigh in North Wales. And if you look into the history of Denbigh and UFO sightings and other strange phenomenon, then like it's got werewolf sightings or dogman sightings from the 1900s,
Oh.
UFOs there, and you actually had an old mental hospital, which was nicknamed sort of Denbigh Asylum. And with that place, I think they had the first witch trials in court in Chester, so where I live now. And these women were actually sent to this Denbigh Asylum. So, a lot of pain and sorrow there. a lot of negative energy around that place. So it's got a rich history with this phenomenon. So yeah, it's I just find it. I kind of understand it a bit more now that maybe the sighting was specific for me, and
Mhm.
it was only me that was supposed to see it. But when you're trying to sort of corroborate, okay,
Yeah.
I've got like my now ex-girlfriend and their 2 children, so I'm not going crazy. It's not like I imagined this.
No, no. I have some I put was if I froze before, I apologize. I was pulling up some
No,
of my
cool.
pictures because
Yeah.
I always wanted to show you. So this is what ended up on my leg. Like I don't know if
Wow.
you can, but I drew it. The weird thing is if you see the drawing that looks like a little kid did that, that was
Yeah.
actually not a little kid, that was actually me. And I was drawing it because I saw a bunch of these UFOs coming out of it. And 6 months later, if you look up, you can see that it ended up on my leg, and you can match it up as soon as, like, I was getting out it was
Wow.
July, yes. So I was like, "Well, this is crazy," and then I have some of the weirdest I wanted to show you, like, some of the so some of them might look like this, that I saw, like, it's has
I've got
it
one
is that
similar
what
to that.
what's that? If
I
you
said
see
I've
oh, I
got
bet.
one very, very similar to that.
Yeah, or like this is one too, and I'm like, people don't understand. They have no clue. Even if they saw one, sometimes what they look like to other people. I had one come down on
Yeah.
a road and it actually like literally went and swarmed and then it shut off. And I'm trying to find it really quick if I can find it. It was a triangle. Oh, here we go. Yeah. This
Wow.
is when I got a picture of it. I don't know if you can see it in the middle. It's kind of
Yeah.
hard to see, but you can see the yellow center. That's what came down on the road, and then I could not on the video, it looks like this blinking light, but they had it, analyzed, and they said, "No, it was definitely like a triangle that came up." So it's crazy, but I just
That's
had to show you
incredible.
those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You got some really good stuff there. Very similar to some of a lot of the things that I've been seeing. So I would say so that would have been 2016, that sighting of
Oh,
the
wow.
acorn-shaped thing. 2016, 2017. But
That's
since then, it's just been so we're living in the same area. I moved into a house, and I used to go out for a cigarette, maybe 9:30 at night, to wind down for bed.
I did too. Oh god, yeah.
Every
Always
time
looking.
I'd go out, I would see something.
Yeah.
And, like, my housemates would see it, my landlord had been a witness
Yeah, yeah.
and filmed something, and with the
I
same
had a whole
reaction.
watch group in my neighborhood, and they were
Yeah,
taking notes when I wasn't around and telling me
yeah,
about what
yeah.
they were seeing too, yeah, it was crazy.
It's kinda like all these people would take take the piss as a term we use in the UK. But then
When
when
they
they saw
stopped,
something.
when
Yeah,
I moved,
yeah.
you
I d it I don't know if it's like North Wales is incredibly active for this stuff, and historically, there's a lot of UFO or UAP cases. Since I've moved to Chester, now I live in the city centre, and obviously there's a lot of light pollution, so I've got an apartment, 4th floor, and, sometimes as I do with an evening in the summer, I, talk out loud to my mum who's passed. And I hadn't seen anything for probably a good year, which I just put down to move into this area and the light
yeah,
pollution and being in the city centre. And, in my mind's eye, consciously, I kind of asked for a sign. And so where I live, bear in mind, 4th floor, to the right, you've got a couple of sort of like council flats that are like high rise and not much higher than what the top of these or the roof of these council flats. The second I did that, it was like this reddish, orangey coloured orb appeared in the sky. Solid colour, and it
wow.
got bigger, 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 drifted along, and then it shrank, 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 collapsed in itself, and it gone. And straight away, I do this thing where I say, "Thank you, universe."
Yes, oh yeah, I
You
always
know,
think 'em too,
because
that
because
that
I always feel honoured to see something, when I've asked for it, and that's happened a bunch of times.
do you know how
Uh,
to bring them in? Has anybody taught you, like, or do you have techniques?
yeah, so like,
I
like
do too.
kind of like I do my own form of CE5 sort of meditation. I
Mhm.
have dabbled with psychedelics like DMT and things in the
Oh, yeah,
past.
I've done that too, yeah.
Yeah, went to Peru, did the proper ayahuasca ceremony.
I did the bufo,
Yeah, that's the toad
the
venom, isn't
frog
it?
one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So,
cool.
but yeah, it's how this thing is connected to our thought processes and what we're putting out on a conscious level. Which we don't even realize. Even down to the language that we use and the choice of words we use.
Mhm.
It reverberates somewhere else seemingly. And that seems to have a connection between certain human beings, if you believe we're fully human, and this, let's call it a phenomenon.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, definitely.
there seems to be a massive correlation between this. You
And why
mentioned,
did it started to peak at 2017? I heard the second wave of experiencers were coming in. And the only reason I call an experiencer, because I didn't know how else to put it, because I feel
yeah,
like I was abducted, I guess, by the definition, but that's not really like how it happened. Like, I got so excited seeing these crafts that I asked for the tour. And,
yeah.
with ET, you always have to, like, ask. It's different, and I don't know even know how to explain it, just, like, if you didn't know what I was talking about, but
But
it's just
it's a conscious decision, right?
mhm. Yes.
And it's not like you're verbally saying that, you're thinking it. Which,
Yes, right.
if back to what we were saying about Gary Nolan, this cortex in the brain that
The
is
prefrontal
switched
cortex,
on and
yes.
experiences and abductees. And
Do you know
like,
how to pop the clouds?
sorry?
Do you know how to pop the clouds with your prefrontal cortex? This is all a part of this. How
Yeah,
you literally
I
visualize it going out, and it's like that's how you control it is, like, your prefrontal cortex in your
there's
brain, which
definitely
is crazy.
something to all this. Like, I'll be honest with you, 10, 15 years ago, if you'd have had this discussion with me, I'd have gone,
What
you
the heck is
Jesus
wrong with
well and
you?
truly slid off the cracker. But
Yes,
the
yes.
more it's weird, isn't it? Because it's like I always say, with my understanding of whatever this is that we're dealing with, the more I learn, the less I know.
Yeah, I know.
You go
I
into
know.
it, like George Knapp says, he's like, give me 6 months and I'll get to the bottom of this whole, UFO mystery. And, as many times as, I've tried to sort of walk away from this and have I guess the fruits and benefits of what you consider a normal life. Well,
Yeah,
it's
right.
like the mafia. Once you're in for life.
Yeah.
There's no walking out of this. So
I thought in the beginning, if I could just do my job, they told me I was here for communication. And I'm
yeah,
like, I don't really wanna go and tell anybody, like, what's going on here, especially, like, local this time I really didn't have I had, like, I don't even know if I had a Twitter account. So
yeah,
I had no idea. So I was looking for people. I found YouTube, I found a few things, but I'm just looking for anything because I
yeah,
don't know what the heck is going on here. And I'm like, all right. So I'd go in everywhere I go and everybody would be like, do you have to? And I'm like, yes, because I thought if I did my part, this would stop and I could go back and resume my normal
yeah,
life. And, that was all it is. So I'm like the
yeah.
crazy UFO lady. Like,
Yeah, but
nobody wants that. Like, initially, now I've embraced it, but not initially.
yeah.
You don't want it. It
But
sounds
I was,
crazy.
I was the same, to come from a background of
Yeah.
like, mixed martial arts fighting these kind of alpha males that,
I was a mental health
very good.
therapist. You know what I
You
mean? A
know,
mental health therapist. If that doesn't
no,
speak volumes,
like
it's so
life was,
crazy.
women partying, football, like regular guys, being jocks, you call them out in America. So, like this has done me no favors in coming forward. Like even, the job where I had an employed role, people kind of roll their eyes when I talk about this stuff. Like I knew
Yeah.
about Dave Grush, 6 months before it became out in the debrief. So, and it was like, obviously you've got to protect your sources. That at the
Mhm.
time he was going through this DOPSA request with the Inspector General. So it was like, you daresn't come out with the guy's name and kind of like, And you just kind of have to say to people, look, watch this space. Because, you know, when this drops, okay, if it doesn't, then I've got egg on my face. Don't
Yes.
believe another word I was saying. I'm not here to convince you. But if and when this comes out, okay, just remember that you heard it here first. And,
Mhm.
you know, maybe because you're very skeptical about this, maybe that gives me some validation. And it did, as you know, and
It's
obviously,
so
you know,
annoying though, isn't it?
yeah, you know, like that congressional hearing where it was him, Ryan Graves, and Dave Fravor. You
Yeah.
know, what people miss is they're testifying under oath to Congress. So if any of those guys are lying, they're going straight to prison under the constitutional, you
Mhm.
know, Constitution of America. So it was like, to me, that was such a massive deal. And like, if you think about disclosure from 2017 when the ATIP article came out in the New York Times, it's like initially they were staying away from the occupant. We
Yes.
were just discussing UAP, the Tic Tac, the Go Fast, the Gimbal, and some of these other encounters like Jeremy Corbell's put out and George Knapp. But everyone was staying away from saying that this, obviously the buzzword now is NHI, non-human intelligence. And that's now in the ether. And we seem to have moved the conversation along a little bit, you know, and it's like, you know, the way it was explained to me is if you put it out in bite-sized chunks, then it's more digestible for people to get their head around. Whereas if you put everything out as seen with like the pandemic and COVID, you know, people lost their minds over that.
They
You
did.
know, at least in the UK, I don't know, you know,
Oh,
but I'm
no, they
guessing
lost their
it.
minds
Yeah,
here. I still suffer the repercussions of this. I was anti-lockdown, anti whatever, and let
yeah,
me tell you, yeah, I didn't not for a second did I buy into it.
yeah. No, I'm not, and you know, look at what's just been released by the Epstein files. So, you
Yeah,
know, Bill Gates is going to have some answering to do, I think. But
I think so. I hope so. I mean, God willing, like I hope that somebody's held accountable in this. Like any
I think they've got to be. I think they've
They
got to
have
be.
to be, yes, eventually, I
I,
hope we're there, but obviously, it's something big enough that they're putting, there's enough people that would really shake this, that they're really dragging their feet on it, but it needs to come out.
I think they're trying, especially, you know, stateside where you guys are. You know, I was
We're
told,
trying to get them suppressed here. Don't The
yeah, but
media is totally different. We'll have to exchange media. I've done this
yeah,
with people before, and it's crazy because what we get reported, even in Australia, 2 totally
yeah.
different, like, aspect like, it's not even what's being reported about here is definitely not the case, and it's not being even reported that way, but that's how, like, they're good at censoring. They
Yeah.
really are.
But, you know, there's brilliant things like, you know, you've got UFO Twitter now. You know, there's so many people invested in doing this, a lot smarter minds than what I am, that are able to sort of decipher,
Can
you
I
know,
give you the reality of it? I
yeah,
don't even wanna burst your bubble, but
go on.
I was on Twitter, and, Twitter's on here, and we're streaming to Twitter, and at one time I do, I have about 50K over there, but I got up to, like, 1,000,000 hits in a month, okay? Which you think
Wow.
wow, that's great. I had to get off. Why? Those people are
Okay.
insane. They're not
Yeah.
even, like,
Okay.
doing they're coming at and they're, like, if you put anything out there that it goes I mean, they're insane. You would have
Yeah.
restraining orders on these people if they
Oh,
lived in
yeah.
your hometown, and
Yeah.
that's, like, how crazy it is, so when people see it from the outside, it looks great, but I'm telling
Yeah.
you, it was enough for me to, like, pack it up, and I stream over there, and I appreciate the people that are still over there holding, like, their own, but it's, like, it's not what you think it is.
Oh,
It's
it's so
about
toxic.
fighting,
It's
it's
so
just, like
toxic.
yeah. Oh, it is
Yeah.
so toxic. It is so
I
toxic.
think what it is, and you know, I was talking to a buddy of mine about this, is like, you know, I don't want to stereotype and say there's a lot of geeks into this, but you imagine a lot of these kids in high school probably were the ones getting wedgied and having their lunch money stolen off them. So all of a sudden they finally get a little bit of attention, maybe on a platform such as X or Twitter. And there's tribalism, there's ego in this, where everyone wants to be the
Mhm.
guy. And
Yeah,
there's
I
a
know.
don't get me wrong, there's some great people come forward that I follow, and but
Mhm.
I won't actively get involved with these people. I
You
watch
had
more.
the ego death ceremony anyway, so
Yeah,
yeah. Isn't it insane? It really is, and they're mostly the ones that are making up more and more and more and more of this. They're
it's
not
crazy.
honest people. Yeah, no way.
Obviously, more recently, you've had a lot of people turn on the likes of Lou Elizondo and Christopher Mellon, and
Mhm.
running these Twitter spaces about them, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
I don't fully, I wouldn't say 100% trust anyone. Because a few years ago, I had a really good chat with Richard Doty when he came over to the UK.
Mhm.
And, even to this day, he told me some of the conversations he has with certain names in this community,
Yep.
the likes of Hal Puthoff and some of these scientists. And
Mhm.
straight away, he said, the contents of those discussions I will never divulge. And I asked him a few questions. So I was like, okay, your cards are on the table. And I asked a few well worded questions. And it was kind of like, the famous saying where they're like, I can neither confirm or deny it.
Yeah.
But there'd be a smile out the corner of his mouth and eye contact enough that you're like,
You know
okay,
something's
yeah,
there. Do you know I have a leak, for the Rendlesham Forest I can hand over, and it happens to do with Dr. Kit Green, all of them, and what they did to those
wow.
guys over there, and I was not supposed to leak it, and I was warned. I leaked it, and I went under, like, the Twitter attack, but I'll send it to you because 'cause you'll probably find
Yeah,
it really
that's cool.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, I followed, Jim Penniston, who's
Yeah,
on
okay.
does a
John,
show with him. Yeah, well, does the show with Linda Moulton Howe
mhm.
occasionally.
I
And
can
like,
and this involves Colonel Holt. It
uh,
involves I'm like, they're all who else? Because I'm gonna bring him on too. I think it is Pennington that I'd have to look on Facebook,
he's the
but yeah,
one who took the craft, I think, and saw the binary code,
yes,
and
yeah,
then was later sued the US military, I believe,
I
and
believe
was
so.
successful. So
Oh,
if
was
there's
he
nothing,
successful?
yeah,
I don't know about yeah, so that
I
would
mean,
be
I'm
yep.
told he was successful. So if there's nothing to this case that happened, I think it was 1985. I think the Rendlesham case, RAF
I'd have to
Woodbridge.
look back at it. They were Nick Pope was gonna come out they were gonna come out with a book, and then the
Yeah,
book was gonna go into a cartoon type illustrations, but where they were showing stuff because the men were drugged. They were given a certain drug to induce. I could probably pull them up if you wanted to put them into the coma and then or to basically brainwash them and then make them forget or make them remember and make them forget
yeah,
is kind of like what it was. And the Scientology, that's the part, like, where Hal put off and those and they were the remote viewers prior to that in the
right.
government black budget projects. So, they know something. I mean, it seems what they're doing is stuff that, and that's why I think that they look and I don't know if you were tagged or not growing up, like, as having, like, I got involved and pulled into this with the gifted and talented program at Montessori preschool, and I didn't understand it at the time, what they were having us do, like the cards with like the little things on them, and they were
Yeah,
giving us Monroe from the Monroe Institution, who's in charge of
wow.
like, yeah, so it was all this crazy. I think that they were looking for people, if that makes
Yeah,
sense, even. Like, do you get any
I
of that over
yeah.
there?
No, I didn't personally. Like, I hated school,
I
because like
hated it
I say,
too. This I only think there's a
14,
way to identify people.
yeah, 14, like when, going back to my sighting, when I lost my dad, like some of the kids at school would sort of, take the pee out the way my dad passed because it was in all like the newspapers locally and stuff like that.
Oh,
So I
man.
just ended up fighting and being kicked out of classes. Whereas the science I'm into now at 45 and historically, history lessons and even religious studies,
Right.
all these aspects that, cross over into or bleed into our paranormal world, if it had been about any of this stuff as a kid, I probably would have got, like majors on all my exams. But
I don't think so. Wasn't very successful at all. It had nothing to do with how smart I was. I didn't have like I was a rebel. Like I was
yeah,
like, you know
I
what I
was a
mean?
major.
I was oh yeah, if there was a like I was that person. And that seems to be a commonality too. Like I didn't abide by like rules, what are they? I always push stuff to the limits. I obviously operate by a different code now, but I'm still the first one out there and fighting the cause.
Yeah,
I've
me
always
too.
been that person.
Me too. Yeah, I was saying to someone just the other day, it's like I don't have the luxury of disbelief anymore.
No.
I really don't. I wish I did. I wish I could kind of go around being blissfully unaware sometimes, because some of the things I'm told can get a little bit scary at times. But then the stuff I've seen, the stuff I've experienced, it's as real as this conversation right now.
Yeah.
And there's many more people coming forward saying that they've got experiences either at home, or they've bought something home, the hitchhiker effect, or they've got, a rich past of interactions with something. Now, I've got a buddy in the UK called Barry Fitzgerald, and his belief is it's one thing that wears many masks. And it's
Yes.
all,
Yes.
yeah. So his theory is it's us that give it the archetype.
Mhm.
So, through popular culture, flying discs, Dogman, werewolves, Bigfoot, because these areas, again, we've got one in the UK that's very similar to Skinwalker Ranch.
What is
And
it?
a buddy of mine, so it's North Yorkshire, a place called Benton.
Oh.
And a very good friend of mine by the name of Paul Sinclair has
Oh,
researched that area.
Paul. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
Paul.
So Paul's
Oh, okay.
Paul's one of my best friends.
No way. Okay, small
Yeah,
world.
yeah.
Oh,
And
Paul, yeah, I gotta get him a date yet to come on. He's gonna come on the show too. I didn't know that. That's cool.
yeah. So I was on his podcast two or 3 weeks ago.
Oh, I'll have to watch it. I didn't know that.
It was a lot of fun. It's always fun talking with Paul, because we
Yeah, he's
just
boots on the ground. Don't they go out on like Thursdays or something every week? And
yeah, so Thursdays and Sunday evenings is Truth Proof live stream goes up. But some of the things he's captured, and going back to, it would have been last June at the Last Awakening conference, Paul was speaking with a friend of his called Linny, and he had up, and he's got video of this, and it's probably some of the best UAP footage I've seen.
oh wow.
So this thing, I think it was looking via an infrared camera. So what looked like a dot on the side of a hill to the naked eye through the infrared spectrum.
Oh, is that what they put it
this,
through?
yeah, became this 3D, almost shape-shifting craft.
Okay.
It's honestly, it's the video has now been released and put up on YouTube by Awakening. It's a guy called Steve Mira.
Yeah, I know him.
He's
just been on my show a couple times.
Yeah,
too long ago.
another
he's
good,
great.
really good friend. Really,
Yeah.
really good friend of mine.
He's nice. I like Steve a lot.
But yeah, it's like some of this stuff Paul's getting is absolutely out of this world. And
I'll have to look into it.
they're getting everything from the cryptid sightings to the nuts and bolts UFOs. You've got trawler men that experience missing time. Paul found an old map that details a magnetic anomaly over in the North Sea. There's people gone missing there, never to be seen again.
Yes. Yes.
There's occult stuff gone on there at the old redundant RAF base.
Oh, you're so true. And you know what? It just like dawned on me. Bigfoot, like the missing 411, there's missing people in all areas of this. It's not just, doesn't that make you wonder?
Well, there was a strange thing Joe Rogan came out with on his podcast, that some of your national parks, I think like Yosemite in America, you're not allowed in there after sundown.
No. Yeah,
No,
there's
isn't
some
that
weird
isn't that
things. Yeah.
weird? Yeah. And
Mhm.
like, you follow the work of David Paulides, who you allude to, you know,
Yes.
these people, like they were saying, the sniffer dogs couldn't pick up a trace of anyone. I think it was Les Stroud from Survivor Man went out with them, who's obviously trained in the art of survival. And they found like, a jawbone from one of the children, but like at an altitude, even, natural predators would sort of struggle with getting to. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
do think it's all linked.
I do too. I do too, and
Yeah,
I'm just wondering, like, now, how much of it is but they all do. I think they're all behind the same mask. It's like we might all be different appliances, but it's
yeah,
plugged into the same source is what I feel like on those.
yeah, absolutely. And like there was a guy in the UK called Richard D. Hall who brought out a really good documentary about I think it was UFOs and NATO, the human mutilation cover up.
Oh, wow,
Now,
yeah.
you had a guy in the States that I was very good friends with by the name of Butch Wachowski, who's now passed on.
Mhm.
He passed away a
Yes.
couple of years ago. He told me, I think it was for a period of 3 or 4 years consecutively, that the exact same number of people went missing each year.
Oh, isn't that something, huh? What a
Yeah,
coincidence.
yeah. Like
Oh,
there's a like
wow.
there's a quota for these people to go missing.
Yeah, like, we have to have at least 300 people. Yeah, that's so crazy. That is so crazy. Wow.
And if you go back to the alleged meeting that Eisenhower had, I think it was at Holman Air Force Base, where it was supposed to be the onset for the Close Encounters of the Third Kind movie with the craft at the end.
Are you talking about President Eisenhower?
Yeah, President Eisenhower.
Have you talked to his granddaughter, his great-granddaughter, Laura?
Laura, yeah, briefly.
Yes. Isn't that
She,
yeah, she's
she,
great.
she swears by that.
Mhm.
But if
Yes.
you believe that we had some sort of interaction on that Air Force base and there was an exchange or an agreement in place, okay, look at it from our point of view. 20 years ago, you had tellies with huge backs on them, and now you can get a television that's thin as a piece of paper. Somewhere along the line, we've jumped technological. I don't think we've
Oh, yeah.
evolved spiritually,
Mm.
but it's like, you know, Joe Rogan says you took an iPhone 50, 60 years ago to some parts of America, you'd be tried for witchcraft,
Yes, yes.
which is nuts, isn't it? But the way technology is marketed, we just accept it.
I grew up seeing spirits, so my mother we belonged to the Catholic Church. My mother wanted when I told her about it, wanted to have the priest come over for an exorcist. Now tell me
Yeah,
that would be traumatic as a child, It's like so I used to write it in stories like, "Oh, so and so," but it came from her aunt. It would be my
yeah,
great aunt from Ireland. Yeah, it had nothing so but that's not even that long ago. I can't even imagine. But people were,
crazy.
hung for this stuff, like,
Yeah,
burned at a stake for this stuff. Yeah,
it's
definitely.
I always use as an argument when people say, you can't see this stuff, and whether that's spiritual or this consciousness that exists around us. And I say, well, you're in the US and I could WhatsApp you a video right now that within a minute or so is going to be downloaded to your device. But yeah, you don't think of all the information in a video: speech, movement, colors, all the things that are in the background, maybe.
Sure.
But yet you don't see that moving pixel by pixel through the sky. But
Oh,
you trust that it's going to come and be downloaded on this device that is wireless. And it's
yeah,
like,
that
if
that they're probably, like, programmed to,
yeah,
like, filter that out by
exactly,
design. Yes. Oh, yeah.
exactly. But
The
it's
best
like,
ones were, like, even the Polaroid pictures that
oh,
you
it's
could
not.
get.
If
Crazy
you
as it sounds.
go back to the very first cameras, you're capturing time and you're able to trap time into a picture.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how nuts does that sound when you
Yeah.
think about it? But it's like, hey, like everyone's got a Polaroid, smile,
Mhm.
take a picture. and it's like the thought process behind how some of this technology is created is, people don't sort of lend their thinking to expand beyond, face value of a lot of the tech that we're using now, even the means in which we're talking right now.
Yes.
It is stuff that would have been in Star Trek or Star Wars, 20
I
years
know.
ago.
I
Video
know.
calling, facial recognition,
Back to the
thumbprint.
Future. Do you remember like
Yeah.
Back to the Future? And we're like, look, they're calling on their, screens popping up. And I'm like, oh, they
Yeah.
couldn't do that. Somebody be in their house in their pajama. I'm like, oh, that's coming, flying cars, like
Yeah.
all of it.
It's nuts. And it's just accepted. So yeah, I think UFOs would be a good cover story for some of the stuff that they reverse engineered. I get that.
Oh yeah.
But where did they learn this tech from in the beginnings?
Yes. Do you know Jim
gotta have,
Goodall?
yeah, you've got to have something to kind of start that chain of command, haven't you? And the domino effect.
Oh yeah.
So, like again, Michael Schratt says, these ARVs, these alien reproduction vehicles,
Mm-hmm.
is
if you know Michael, you know Jim Goodall, don't you then?
yes, yeah.
They're like Jim considers Michael like his son. They're really close, but Michael has some really good information. Really good
Oh, he
information.
does. He does. And I listen to all these guys, just immerse yourself. I don't watch these television documentaries. I am guilty of watching, I think it's The Curse of Skinwalker Ranch.
But you were there, weren't you?
No, I wasn't there. Buddy of mine was on Jeremy's movie.
Okay. I knew there was a connection.
Yeah, I really want to get out there. Weirdly, I was with said friend on Friday who was playing a gig in Liverpool.
Oh, very cool.
It was
there's
actually
another one. A guy by the name of McBurney has it, and the same owners, and they said they found like NIDS equipment like in the
Wow.
walls they're trying to go through, but it's the activity's so high. Jeff McBurney's his name. And he
Wow.
said that they like it was absolutely insane. But they think Howard Hughes is actually Robert Bigelow's father, and that there was an airstrip there,
Oh,
and
wow.
they found further documents that prove it. I can put you in touch with them if you're interested. But
That's
yeah,
really interesting. Yeah,
you can go and stay there too.
that'd be incredible. But there's, obviously there's other ranches that Bigelow purchased that I believe are in one of Jacques Vallée's books.
I wonder if this one's it, because they think that this is the real Skinwalker. They don't think that they're telling everybody exactly what's what. So it would be interesting.
I think it's called.
What is it?
I just forget the surname. It was Mount something. There's a guy who's gone up there. I think he goes by the name on YouTube, Carl the Crusher. He's involved with this whole psionics thing that's going on with Jake Barber's group at the moment.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But he went out to this place and the guy's done his due diligence, and in one of Jacques Vallée's books, I forget which one it was because I do want to get it and obviously read about it. But there was another ranch that Bigelow purchased, less famous than Skinwalker.
I wonder if this is the same place.
Yeah, but do you remember John Edmonds as well? Stardust.
Yes, I do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so obviously no longer with us, John Edmonds. But if you go back and watch his early interviews, the stuff that he had coming on attacking his livestock was
crazy,
insane. Yeah.
You know what? A part of that is cult related. There's a part of the cult that's in there doing this. And people are like, oh, how could they have the ability to call in daddy's helicopter and come in and drop that animal wherever it wants. And then they have drum circles. I've seen the actual evidence of it, that this cult does exist. And this is very much, and that's why it's so precisional. I don't know how much of it isn't cult related.
It's weird because, going back to what we were saying about Rendlesham in the nearby forest, everywhere there's a UFO concentrated area, hotspot, there's proof of occultism nearby.
Yes.
Even these sites in Wales, stone circles, megalithic structures, where
Like
people
to
claim to
feed
go
off
there
of
and be,
them. Yes. Yeah.
And I think ley lines are a thing as well, which, in North Wales, there's a tremendous amount intersected. If
I
you
think
think
it's the same with cryptids, though. A lot of cryptids I've heard, especially
yeah,
and we have to assume that there's a spectrum, that not everybody is here with good intentions. And two, and how
yeah,
many of these are government lab, whoops, like are they
yeah.
escaped or testings being done? I don't doubt that's not happening either.
Well, if you go into like the whole super soldier thing, which again is an entirely different rabbit hole, and you research some of that, it's completely plausible that they've messed about with this. Obviously, in the States, you've got the Montauk Project and things of that nature.
Hmm.
Some pretty weird stuff went on there. So,
With electricity and yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
And if you think they can't keep that a secret, watch Oppenheimer. Watch how
Yeah, I
those
know.
guys were threatened, with the new, the first atomic bomb.
They have it's like a business, I think if somebody like had a cash-based business, they always have a couple set of books. Anybody who
Yeah,
had family, it's like I feel like they have layered it. Eventually, you're gonna get bits and pieces of it, but by the time you get the full, you're never gonna understand what it
yeah,
is even because they're gonna
you know,
jam it full of crazy nonsense. It is so hard to get those answers.
yeah, it
And
is.
nobody
Yeah.
knew what they were looking for back then. Nobody thought that this was possible. It's just
But
crazy.
even now, we know because this is how media works. If a genuine story comes out, they'll mix sort of fact with fiction,
Mhm.
to
Operation
muddy the water.
Mockingbird.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Very real thing that, is now a declassified CIA program. But it's like when they come out with this stuff, this is what they do because most people won't waste their time in separating what we call the wheat from the chaff here in England. Mixing the what's fiction and what's
What's true
reality
from
based.
fiction, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
It's like people haven't got the time or the energy process to be able to pull apart. And that's
No.
one thing that's happened with the Rendlesham case. There's a movie coming out, I believe, soon, although it's
Oh, are they
been
coming out with a movie finally?
yes,
Who's doing it?
it's Gary Heseltine, isn't it? I think, and this Capel Green about Rendlesham, but
Yeah. I'm gonna send you all the documents, I have them. Yeah. And
that's
it shows a
that's
little bit
cool.
different of us, yeah, and I was threatened, I was offered the book deal. They said if I would stand behind this and I'd get, 50 cents or something. I have the whole conversation that I have
Yeah.
and it involves Colonel Holt, it involves yeah, all of them. Nick Pope, the whole
Larry
9 yards.
Warren, yeah,
Yes! Yeah,
yeah,
A.G. Warren, yes, he's
yeah,
in the picture too, who I've
yeah.
got. Oh, no. I'm
It's
totally
not
yeah, I'll
stuff.
send them to you.
It's not stuff. But my
I'll send them
point
to you, they're
is to
great.
this is
And I can
like
walk you through
most
what you're seeing, but it's insane.
but most people haven't got the energy to pull something like that apart and, do a deep dive and figure out the background of these people and whether they're embellishing on their stories because there's some sort of cover up.
Yeah.
It's almost serendipitous that, some people work a lifetime just to look into some of these cases. That's how long it literally takes to kind of pull everything
Mhm.
apart and, as I say, separate what's fact from fiction.
I should show you the research wall that I put together. I started after this happened, I started, literally things I didn't even I was going into Einstein's theories, and I was not, ever into academic stuff, I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
that stuff is boring.
Yeah,
I'd
me
rather be"
too.
it wasn't that I wasn't smart enough, I just was never interested in it whatsoever.
Yeah.
But it is I'll pull it here for a second. But yeah, I had I finally got to a point. I'm like, they're changing their websites, they're changing the information. So I started printing it all off, and I had it all in the just all over. And it was
Yeah.
layer, and I finally started color coding it, and I started putting it into little, who crossed over with what 3-letter agencies or what was involved, and making a timeline. And I was like, whew.
So
It's
I
it's
do the exact
crazy.
same, but I take screenshots.
Yeah, I do I take
Yeah,
screenshots now.
yeah.
I've got, like, 50,000 of them on, like I
Oh, yeah,
screenshot
me too.
everything.
Me too.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Isn't it I know.
God
Every
help anyone if my phone ever gets stolen, because they won't
I
make any
know.
sense of it. But yeah, it's
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. I'm like, I take screenshots and then I have it like on and I have oh my god, it's horrible. It really is. I mean, and one alone, I just looked down and I was like at 42,000 and I was like, oh, how am I gonna ever get through
yeah,
these?
yeah, similar to me. But the good thing is as well, with the invention of AI, whatever people's thoughts on that is, if I find a certain paper that's been released, say like the Avi Loeb stuff with the Three Eye Atlas recently, I'm not qualified as an astronomer or an astrophysicist or any of these things. So literally, I would upload them to ChatGPT and just say, please break these down into layman's terms for me. You know,
Right.
help it make sense.
Oh,
And
for sure.
it's so like, there's a lot of wrong uses and a lot of negativity around AI, but it learns this stuff way faster than what a human brain can.
Yeah.
And then it gives you the breakdown, and you're able to sort of decipher this in bite-sized chunks.
But
So,
they're going did you know that they're now communicating between one another?
yeah, yeah,
That's
that's
scary.
crazy.
Yeah. There's I can't remember what the name of the area is, but I was like, "Oh my gosh." Now that's where I'm like, they need some parameters on this, and I who knows? Hopefully they do, but who knows? You know what I mean? Like,
Massively,
that's scary.
massively. This thing can easily get out of control in a heartbeat, and that's a very scary proposition for the future. But as you say, hopefully with tighter regulations and maybe some oversight on some of this stuff, you'd like to think Elon's doing that with Grok, and his version of AI.
Yes.
Because, Elon's like, I think it was Ross Coulthard saying that he's heard from various people that Elon Musk has been briefed on all this stuff. He'd have had to be because of SpaceX.
I think he definitely has it.
Yeah,
I trust what he's saying? Absolutely not, but he bought Twitter, and think
yeah.
of what was going on at Twitter and how much he knows everything, whether
Yeah,
it
of
is,
course it does.
because there's still I mean, they communicate, they were doing it in a way that, at one time, I mean, look at they were going and using Gmail, and they didn't think, who knows
Yeah.
how long before they kinda stepped up, but I think he has everybody's information. I bet he
Oh,
has the
yeah.
most information in the whole world on people.
Massively,
Yes.
massively. He knows way more than what he's letting on. I don't even think that guy's human anyway, to be honest.
No, no way,
You
no
know,
way.
the kind of mind that he gets, is or he has, is just so far out there, and that guy has so much information swimming around in that brain
Mhm.
that
Y
you just love to spend an hour, wouldn't you, in his company? Maybe an hour wouldn't be enough, but
I don't know as
thinking,
if you could even, like yeah, for real though. That's what I just wanted that's exactly what it is. I mean, he is but my buddy's kind of like that. He's not autistic, but he's got, Asperger's, and he works for as an aeronautical engineer, but you cannot talk to him about anything serious, or he'll send me, like, a cat picture. "Tim, if you're here, you know that I'm telling the truth." So, it's like sometimes he'll watch my shows, but yeah, it's like, that's about as much as you'll get, but he is
yeah,
so brilliant in the stuff that they know. This is like one of my research walls, and this is layers upon layers upon layers deep. And I had
wow.
everybody yeah, that's how crazy it was, but
I did
I
it.
wanted to
I
figure
used
it
to
out.
do I used to do the Post-it thing.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, I have Post-its
yeah.
everywhere too, and then I got so bad. I was like, I'm using these to organize, and trying to like it was crazy. It looks
It's nuts, but excuse me for yawning.
it's
It's
getting
late.
late there.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
yeah.
like 10 p.m. here in the UK, but it's literally what you've got to kind of do sometimes is like, it's funny when I started this, like a lot of people kind of come into this with the mindset of, I'll get to the bottom of this UFO mystery. Give me a year, give me 18 months. But as I say, my thought process as to what we're dealing with has changed fundamentally in the last 13, 14 years. From initially thinking we're dealing with little grey beings from Zeta Reticuli
Yeah.
to, maybe space aliens, if you want to call them that. Maybe that's just one aspect of what we're dealing with.
Right.
I've spoken to people that there's a lot of people now with this church committee in the US Department of Defense, the Pentagon, that actually think a lot of this could be angelic and demonic, which might explain some of, the abduction sightings where people, have these incredibly enlightening experiences, oftentimes healed. And then people have the really terrifying experiences, where they're played by this for the rest of the life. You wouldn't say it's a positive experience, but, take Travis Walton's case.
Right.
And if you want to look at like guys like Chris Bledsoe over in the States,
Mm-hmm.
what that guy's getting is unbelievable.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
It's
Even like James Gillian, you should see the evidence that he has. Peter Maxwell Slattery, you should see the evidence that they've got like, James is like, sent me this video and I was so long and he's like, oh, I just got that over the 4th of July. And I was like, from East Eddy Ranch. And I was like, whoa, like this is crazy, but it's all out there. Those are and I don't know if it's because they're restricted, but when I post those, I'm like, go, and James is like, go have anybody analyze them, do what they want with them. They get the least amount of views. It's crazy.
Why do you think that is, though? Do you think that's by design and maybe the way the algorithm works, it picks up on what you're posting?
Or that people have lost, and you can tell with his, like, and this is really, I've seen some before AI, but now that AI is here, people don't know. They're like, oh, that's just an AI. I'm like, AIs are like really good, but now they're doing them with like, where you can tell the difference usually. But no, they're becoming more and more and more sophisticated that it's hard to trust the evidence, and people are pumping the AI BS. And I don't know as if we have a way to weed through that yet.
No, well, look at the stuff that obviously James Fox, who's a really good friend.
Oh, yes.
Love that guy. I'm one of the most genuine souls in this community, I think. But he's just at the press club event over in Washington for the Virginia, Brazil case with the military captured these live beings with this UFO crashed, and I believe someone died who handled one of these beings, got some rare bacterial infection.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
By the same token, there's supposed to be video somewhere that exists of one of these beings that the military captured and later handed over to the state. But back to your point about the AI stuff, it's like, it's so hokey that, when something genuine does come across, you're going to have, somewhere like, UFO Twitter or UFO X, and half the people are going to be sort of fighting amongst themselves, saying, is this AI? And, how can you separate the fact from fiction?
Right.
It's not. It's going to make our job a lot harder.
It is a lot harder. And then it's going to cause, once you have doubt in it, then it's going to create doubt. That poisons the water, it seems like.
Well, I do kind of feel like in different pretenses, that's always been there, whether it's been mainstream media suppressing this. They'd run a UFO story with the hokey X-Files tune, and we all sit in our mum and dad's basements with tinfoil hats, and it's that stereotype, isn't it?
Yes. Oh yeah, it is for sure. Oh God, I know. I know. It's bad too.
What I was going to ask you is, what do you think to this? The recent information that's come out about Trump's got a speech prepared for July 8th. Have you seen that?
I have, and then you have the movie that's coming out,
The
really
Spielberg
the
one.
disclosure, Steven
Yeah.
Spielberg one, and I think that I can't imagine that it will 100% give any sort of create duality, but it will also
Yeah.
politicize this to an extreme where I feel like, but
Yeah.
I do think that I just think that if the government, this is what we were talking about the other day, if the government comes out and they give a speech and they say these are real, people aren't going to believe it anymore. Right? For this point in the United States of America, no one trusts what the government's going to say. We'll go from credible people to this is a possibility, to the most uncredible people just because they've done that.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
But like here in the UK, whether you're for or against Trump over, in the US, I know.
That has
There's,
nothing to do with it, just
you
that the
know,
government's hands would be on it.
yeah, it is.
Didn't matter
But
who said it.
like one of the things I've noticed in this country is like, when I've put out articles to do with this and, Eric Burleson's recent statement and whatnot, it's like, people hate Trump that much.
Oh, yeah.
That
you
he
got
could
that.
stand on the White House lawn and give a press conference and people will still go,
Mhm.
the orange face guy, I'm not believing anything that he
Oh,
says.
I know. The orange man's bad or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so
And
stupid.
it is stupid, but that, again, that's done by design. So when anyone credible does come forward with this information, it's,
Right. It's going to be for whoever does, but it's like, I feel like we have enough. I don't understand why. And this is where that ego
Yeah.
thing comes in. I really
Oh,
think this,
massively.
Jay. I'm like, if we would learn how to connect between each other and connect countries and, and get all of this information, get the, you do the whole, I've done it before, like the media exchange. You get the people. I pull my, you got some great people. I got some great people. Let's get those
Yeah.
people together and have these conversations, because I know we have the ability to do that. And
We do.
yes,
Absolutely. But like you say, I think the one driving factor that kind of destroys that concept is that, there's a lot of ego in this.
yeah.
And, when I give
Oh.
lectures at some of these paracons and things here in the UK,
Oh, God.
and I'm like usually the one guy that differs from all the others.
Yeah.
They're doing
The
talking about
outsider.
exorcism. Yeah, they're exorcism
That's 'cause
guys.
you're telling the
or-
truth.
Yeah. But when we do a panel on the final day, and I'm asked the question, and I'm like, if you actually look up the Latin word of para, as in paranormal, then it, paramedic, parachute.
Yes.
If you look at the actual meaning, it pertains to all of this. It's not just got ghosts or poltergeists or skinwalkers or Bigfoot. Everything is paranormal until it becomes explainable.
Yep.
And I say that at the start of every talk, because rather than segregating, and you've got the Bigfoot community and the ghost hunters guys, and they've got the TV shows and the podcasts and whatnot. And it's kind of like everyone's so dismissive of someone else's community.
Yes.
But like, I know for a fact that, in my own research, where Bigfoot's seen, people see these light orbs in the forest.
Yes. The
You know?
cryptids, the UFOs, the paranormal, I found them all in the same area.
Yeah.
Yes.
As it was mentioned, Paul Sinclair, why are
Mhm.
people seeing nuts and bolts craft and having missing time, but also seeing an 8-foot tall bipedal werewolf? Let's call it that, for sake. And that's going back to the early 1900s, these accounts. So what people were seeing then, they're now seeing today. And it blows my mind. I think A connects to B and B connects to C somewhere. And, it's almost like, us dumb humans, through this ego thing that we're talking about, it's like we missed the trick on this where we should be working together.
I
You
just
know,
said, yeah, Bigfoot Michigan Rob is in the chat, and I said he should have you on because let's bridge this gap. Like we
yeah,
do collabs all the time together, and we said it ourselves. Like we know this connects. We just don't know exactly where, how but the way you're putting these into words, it makes sense. It
it
always
makes
has, but
total
this
sense.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, makes total sense. And like, I'm a fan of the unknown, if you want to sort of put an umbrella over all of this.
Yes.
So I've watched a lot of these shows at times, and it's like, don't get me wrong, 95% of it can be gump, but there's that little gold nugget within that connects B to A
Yep.
or A to C. And you kind of like, you make
Nuggets of
that
truth.
correlation.
Oh,
Yeah, and that gets my ears pricked up, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting because that ties in with something that someone like who's worked for every three-letter agency has talked about.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not, look at the stuff recently with in Elizondo's book where he's talking about remote viewing practices in the US military, and weirdly, Hal Potoff talked about it on Rogan when he was on about 6 months ago. Where
Hale was in charge of the remote viewing. He had Indigo
exactly.
Swan, and they were Scientologists.
Yeah, exactly. So and how this has been used. I think he gives the example of the Russian fighter jet that was in American airspace that came down.
Oh yeah,
And they wanted to get that tech before the Russians got it back. And they used this remote viewing practice to be able to successfully locate, this fighter jet. So it's like, people think this stuff is too far out, and it's kind of again happenstance. But the US military, going back to Hitler in World War II, he experimented with the occult. They tried to build their own UFO, De Glocken, the Nazi bell.
Yep, and look at Operation Paperclip, and we brought him right into NASA, and people. I mean, you got Skunk Works here, you got all sorts of stuff. But
Werner von Braun, right?
Werner von Braun, yes.
It's not. Even going back to the Jack Parsons. If you look at Jack Parsons and the invention of the first rocket engine, but then he was good mates with, I think it was Aleister Crowley.
Oh my God! Yes, I know.
So
I mean, it's enough to make you stop and pause and think you're, for
because people just think a smart mind came along one day with the intellect to be able to put this stuff into practice. It's not like they had 3D printers back then.
Oh yeah, I know. I love it. Like, so you really think Isaac Newton sat under a tree and an apple fell on his head, and he's like, "Oh, 2 newtons for gravity." Like that just it didn't happen that way.
No, it's not like you woke up one day and suddenly you had this form of, I suppose by today's standards we call it a form of autism or Asperger's or something. Whereas these people didn't just suddenly wake up one day and come up with the intellect to, be able to come up with the laws of physics or something that. But people
we'll bracket this and we'll number, that it didn't happen that way. It did not happen that way.
It didn't happen that way. It's all come from somewhere. And when I looked into the Jack Parsons thing and the whole involvement with alchemy, going back to that goes back to King Arthur and a lot of mystical stuff that's out there. So
yes, the mystery schools and everything that it just got buried. It just got buried in time.
Yeah, we've come away from that. As I say, we worship technology now. I don't think we've evolved spiritually, and I think
I think it's prevented us from evolving spiritually.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what it's done, and it's doing what it's probably here to do.
It's funny, isn't it? There was I forget who it was who came forward. It might have been Tim Burchett,
Mm,
or one of those type of guys. And he said, if humans understood their capabilities and what they're capable of,
yes.
this would be an entirely different planet.
Mary Rodwell. Do you know Mary Rodwell?
Yeah, brilliant
She
mind.
Oh, yeah, and she talks about the kids, and she's like, "They don't these kids that" she's like, "We don't even realize their power, but these kids," she said, "outdo AI." That's my only hope right there is Mary's
Yeah.
words on the kids. She's like, "No, they have not I don't think they brought the kids forward yet."
I don't think they have at all, to be honest. It's but then, let's look at the likes of ourselves and, like I'm not academic in the slightest. I've
No,
probably
but I
got
bet your IQ have a high IQ. I'm not either. I hate systems. I hate
yeah,
systems.
I do. I do. Yeah, I think
Mhm.
outside the box instead of lateral thinking, and I'm able to expand my mind to those possibilities.
Absolutely.
But by the same token, it's like, what is there something in our DNA? I've got a buddy who seems to think that could be the case. That
Markers?
yeah,
I think it'd be worth looking into if
yeah,
you knew someone you could trust. Look for those markers and see.
yeah.
For sure.
Going back to the royal family in England, if you trace their lineage back, they're all interbred to keep the same bloodline. So there's definitely something to
Yes.
it.
Yes.
So,
Yes, when you look at it like that too, and that's just it. Like even, you think about it, they talk about, especially like I know I'm not going down any roads or any, but there's
yeah,
certain bloodlines that they don't want. They think
yeah.
it dilutes it in many ways, and there very well might be something to that. You go back to the bloodlines, the
David
original
Icke
ones.
seems to
Yeah,
think so,
I
and
like
whatever
David.
people I love him, like there's a guy who, let's be honest, right now, with everything that's come out these past couple of weeks, he's probably owed an apology from a lot of people.
He sure the heck is, and when he
Yeah,
came out, everybody goes back to when he came out and he was wearing that jumpsuit and, like, that rayon jumpsuit, and he's like, and I've known so many people because that's, like, their awakening process. They realize that we're all connected to the same source, and then
yeah.
what he's saying, it might not, but I get it. I get where he was at in that whole process, and
But
that
you
is
think
his
that
information. It's
yeah,
great.
that interview with Terry Wogan, I believe it was with when he had the shell suit on,
Yeah.
which is
Yes.
what we call it in the UK, that was done by the BBC.
I
The
know.
BBC that notoriously covered up Jimmy Savile.
Jimmy Savile, yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, you
Look
know
at all the work he came out and did and exposed on him, and he's right in there with the oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
I've boycotted the BBC for
good
years
for
now.
you.
I won't give them the time of day. And weirdly, did get sent a questionnaire, a petition even recently about calling for the BBC to be saved, in the wake of Trump suing them. And I
Oh,
thought, well, those dumb shits, excuse my
oh,
language
you're
there.
okay, yeah, you're
If
okay.
you've lied about someone, which is liable, you deserve to be sued for that.
You
Is
do.
that isn't that disinformation?
Oh my gosh, yes, it is, and they're not
Right?
I'm telling you, if you had seen what the BBC was even reporting during the COVID, because I had this information exchange going on,
Yeah,
you would have been like, "No wa" I mean, it was so far off, and I was like, "Wow, this is how rumors
yeah.
get started."
But they were selling fear,
Oh,
and
yeah.
weirdly, the friend that we were talking about who's a pop star, with my mum having kidney disease because my mum was live at the beginning of COVID. She has
Oh.
no immune system because you have to take
Mm-mm.
anti-immune suppressant drugs. And obviously, a lot of worry. Didn't see my mum for the best part of a year.
Oh.
And I remember him saying, and it was so true, turn off your notifications on your phone, turn the news off because fear will kill you faster than this virus.
Yes.
I'm not
Yes.
disputing that there was, a real virus. I'm not disputing that. But the severity of it and all the
Mm-mm.
lockdowns, look at the stuff that's coming out now.
Oh, yeah, we're in the fourth industrial revolution. I said, you know what the thing of it is? They were getting a global inventory and there was nobody dropping dead in the streets. And that's what they told us was going to happen. And I looked out and there was no one dropping dead in the streets. They said our hospitals were being overrun by, I went into the hospitals. We went in there and there were whole blocks, whole floors. They were telling you people were on that they weren't. They were just held there in case they needed them. Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy.
Exaggerating the numbers, and even, going back to my mum's case, my mum passed away of a stroke in hospital. But guess what was put on the death certificate?
COVID. No,
Yes.
no.
100%.
No.
Yeah.
I know somebody else says maybe 4 other people that this has happened to with they couldn't get to their parents in the nursing home.
Yeah.
One was in for foot surgery, but they died of the COVID. The other one was on hospice. He outlived it by hospice by 2 months. And that's what's written on there too. Oh yeah.
It's nuts. It's nuts. And I know so many other people that happened to during the pandemic. It's
wow.
But, if that was used as an exercise to see how people react to this disclosure stuff, I think.
Oh, they passed with flying colors.
Oh, yeah, big time.
My next one is, and you're starting to see it around. I wrote about this in 2021 and 22. I said, they've already told us, if you watched Event 30 or 201 or whatever it is, I can't even remember off the top of my head now, but they said they're coming out with another one. They're coming out and they're going to come out with the Nipah virus, and it's going to be the Nipah virus. And I wrote it back then and I just found it again because all of a sudden I'm seeing all this stuff fly up on the news. And I'm like, I noticed people were at the store wearing their I don't even know what, they're smothering themselves with dirty cloth again. And so I was like, this is something's going on. And I looked and here it said the Nipah virus. So I'm like, please, everybody, please just stop, pause, and think. Anytime they do it, they're going to try and come in so fast and fear. And they're going to people are shutting themselves down. Oh, you think it's going to be 2 weeks? Over 2 weeks? You're crazy. Oh, that's now, like week after week, I'd be like, really? Then 6 weeks. Like we're getting to the 3-month marker, and I'm like, are you guys ready yet? It's the longer every day this goes by, the worse it's going to be. You can't.
Back to prophesizing things. What do you think to this school of thought that disclosure is happening because there's going to be some sort of big event happening? And Elizondo's talks about this. That's why he named his book Imminent. James Fox has spoken about this.
I think they're going to force one.
Yeah. And obviously
we're going to be held hostage. I think whatever it is, this is where I go to. They've identified certain people for certain reasons. They have known they're doing a global inventory. Now to get this to happen, they're going to have to have enough of us or something that is severe enough because they don't step in and tamper with our timelines. That's one no on their behalf. They don't do it. It will change everything. So I think they're trying to create one, and I think AI is going to be your perpetrator type of deal. So I think it's necessary.
I think so too. And guys as much as I think this guy's got a bit of an ego, Stephen Greer, talking about Project Bluebeam. And people go, nah, they couldn't do that. Okay, look.
It won't happen just that way, but there will be something that they will trick you.
There will be some of that. And I'll give you an example. As I think it's in Dubai or Abu Dhabi, the Atlantean Hotel that has a giant whale coming out of the pool that is 100% hologram. And people marvel around
fireworks. Their fireworks over there this year were all holograms, and they were like, it was insane. You can't even tell that they're even more. But I'm like, they've been testing this down in Japan, and I looked at it, and it's almost impossible. Like your brain believes it, whether or not you process it. Your brain's recording that; it believes it.
Exactly. So the sleeping masses, if they see something, it's going to be something straight out of Independence Day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Let's call it,
Yeah, it will too. It will too. That's what I
another,
worry about. I'm like, we don't have to worry about it. We got to stop these people from acting all crazy out there again and getting the
oh yeah,
rest of us in trouble because they're the ones that are, it's like if you just would just stay home and just, let us take care of this for like the
yeah,
next 48 hours, we'll get it under control. But that's
yeah,
not going to
absolutely.
happen.
No, not at
Oh,
all. But
man.
it's just, I don't know. We live in such an age where, you can go to bed one night and wake up on the wrong side of history. I don't
Yes.
think I've ever known a time like this for, not only disinformation, but the level of information that's coming out at such a rapid rate. And with this disclosure stuff, I was told that, the toothpaste is out the tube. This isn't going away,
Mm-mm.
because so much has come out. When you look at these guys like Matthew Brown with, what was it? Immaculate Constellation that he came out, that program.
Oh, yeah.
You've got Conan the Blue. That's now out there. You've got guys like Grush coming forward, Jake Barber. These people are credible. Very, very credible. They know their stuff. But
What is it? It's like even if they did, and like I said, the real nail in the coffin could be the president coming out and saying they're real, and everybody's gonna be like, oh, yeah, this and that and whatever. Like I just think that but they have this is the problem is like Stephen Bassett and whether or not he wants to admit this, I have the old screenshots I will show you with the Paradigm Research Group
yeah,
that they were gonna do. They wanted to intervene in a called a caretaker government where it was sounded awfully similar to something Karl Marx and Frederick Engels wrote in a Communist Manifesto. But that's what it was like, we'll take care of, but then it slowly has changed. But there's a whole post-disclosure plan that they have in place, and it's
yeah,
all to care for the people because they're going to be so freaked out and adjusting to all of this. The plan is
the
there.
formation of the New World Order.
Yes, and that's why we have to have a plan on how this is going to not happen. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like we're smart enough and there's enough of us that we could get a step ahead of this. We just got this ego thing. We got the division, I'm got, more subscribers than you BS game. Wipe it off the table. If you find somebody's that credible, they've got good information, they're out doing it, they're passionate about it, that this is their mission for whatever reason is here. Like we need to be doing more.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that sentiment. It's just, you look at it like, obviously I kind of looking at my own country at the moment where, there's so much division going on.
Yeah.
And you've got these megalomaniacs in charge that are getting away with blue arse murder, while everyone's...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, here too, yeah.
Look historically, whenever there's been a revolution, there's been an overthrow of government, be it the US or the UK or wherever. It's when people have generally come together on a united front. We ain't got that at the moment.
No. So we need to do it on an international level because we don't trust who's putting the front there. We trust that there's a front like being played. But I think if we connect, and I've really been trying to build alliances with people, I'm like, and pushing forward, like we have, like I said, between you, me, Jay, like we've got like some of the very best people in this that have a mound of evidence. Think if we could get them to sit down at the same table and have these conversations. We could
it's nuts, but I suppose the problem you've got is people believe that box with the moving pictures and the moving words on, rather than, pick up a book or listen to a podcast. That these things that have been set up, let's take the BBC. It's an institution.
Yeah.
I had people through COVID, literally believing everything that they heard on the BBC News at 6 p.m. in this country.
Oh, yeah, CNN was a thing
And
here too
like,
one time. Yeah.
Yeah, they were like, they're human beings. They're fallible. They lie. And like, if you look hard enough, you can see that, going back to the first time when Trump was running against Hillary, all your news companies in America, it was like they were reading verbatim the exact same script.
They were Operation Mockingbird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
They were all
people
CIA
still look
agents,
at
infiltrated the media, and going back, we didn't have that. Think of how now, that's why you'll see them, they'll have them show them in all these different places saying the
Yeah.
same thing over after over, like,
Well, look,
it's like, come on.
look what Project Veritas uncovered with CNN over in
Mhm.
America.
Oh, I like him too. Yeah.
How is that not front page news though? But when you understand how this is rigged,
But
then
think if we all united, we could pull a sizable amount of people to get this information out. I think even though we are like, and we're kept in this box for a very good reason, but it's like, I feel like if even if I had to pull some strings, like ask really some big favors, I'm all about trying to organize, let them come, let us mediate it. That's all. I just want to, but let's bring these big people to the table and encourage them. Like there's no reason like if you notice the song that I played on the second one, I'll have like James Gillian and then I put him next to Daryl W. Sims. Why? Because then regardless, they think two opposite ways. And it was so funny when I, the having him on and stuff and James is making sure I'm okay, like talking to, I'm like, no, it's, you guys just need to sit down together. There's a common ground here. We might all see this a little bit different, but there is a common ground and we can find it and think if we could think, if James could say, hey, but he does, he thinks like the Grays are bad, but let's just not give him a name because Daryl, I understand because of his son and how his son was impacted, why he does feel the way he does, So if we can keep those kind of parts out of it, I think we could go miles in this.
I think so. The problem you've got, and probably more so since Tom DeLonge and his group, To the Stars, came on the scene, and then you've got Stephen Greer's group against all those guys, and then you've got what's his name, the lawyer guy with the curly hair. I forget his name, but like he's stuck in the middle because he's Lou Elizondo's lawyer and he advises Greer. And it's like,
what if we don't even need them because they're not experiencers? We need people who have been. Daryl's an experiencer. James Gillian is an experiencer. I think that we need to separate and bring the experiencers together and start to put those pieces together.
Funny
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's funny you should say that. I was chatting to a friend a couple of weeks ago called Holly Amwood, very dear friend of mine.
Cool.
Brilliant mind for this stuff. And some of the people she speaks to are next level, as in what clearances they hold and whatnot.
Right.
And she said she had a conversation with Jacques Vallée. I think it would have been at the Italy conference.
Very cool.
What is it? And he said, rather than looking to the governments to disclose this, we are disclosure.
Yes.
Us, the people that are experiencing this. Don't look to your leaders or any official body because people are
get out of the government's mouth altogether.
Yeah.
Yes.
Look at brilliant. And I recommend anyone read his book, UFOs of God. Look at Chris Bledsoe.
Yes, he brings the spiritual side into it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But
Jeff
I think
Silver, he's really aligned with him too. There's a couple of he's got a really great concept too.
But I think back to your original point is I have personal feelings on some of these people based on some of the things I've seen them do. But does that mean they're completely full of crap?
They've got nuggets.
You have to look at everything.
They've got yes, you do.
Rather than go, I don't like him because he doesn't like her, or
exactly. And that's a way of control, and I hate that. I hate that little. And I might not really care for somebody. And let me tell you, there's been times, but they always have the nuggets of truth, and that's what I'm looking for. Are those nuggets of truth?
Yeah, look at the bad press. Richard Doty gets.
Yeah.
And he does.
I know Richard. I've talked to him. He's been on the show a few times, and I've talked to him behind the scenes on stuff. And when you listen to his take on it, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's like, obviously, because of the stuff he was involved with Paul Bennewitz,
Yeah.
people genuinely have hate for that guy. So
I
they
know,
completely
I
dismiss
know.
everything else that he says because he's got to be it's all got to be
And he
counterintelligence.
comes from a long line. His dad was intelligence. He
Yeah,
comes from a long line of programmable people, but he does know some stuff. He really does.
he
He's
does.
not and there was with Paul Benowitz, was an agreement that was signed. There was a whole
Yeah,
thing. There's a back end story that didn't even come out on it that would
yeah, I know.
change not entirely, but it would not make people hate him.
Yeah,
Like
he shared
Corey
that with
Good. Yeah, another one. You say his name and people want to grab daggers and come after you.
yeah.
But he's got
David Wilcock's
information.
another one.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah.
lot of these guys that, whilst I might not agree with other aspects of stuff that they do, you have to look at everything and kind of suspend your own prejudice, I
We should
think.
do this, Jay.
Yeah.
We should do
Ah,
this as a
I love
project. We
it.
were talking about doing a project. Why don't we we'll plan and because I can get to the people that you were just well on both sides and let's
Yeah.
see what plays out. Because I think nobody's really done this before, not like this. I think we should do it.
No, I think maybe Greer was the last guy to do when they did the press club event, where he had the Disclosure Project and he got all the top level witnesses to give their testimony at the Washington Press Club.
But he didn't get you know what I'm talking about, like the James Gillian or the Peter Maxwell Slatteries or like the Mary,
No.
we're going for a whole the less affiliated they are with the government, I think the better.
Yeah. Yeah, but the sad thing is the flip side to that is can they be got to? Because there have been decent people that, like I know Chris is, talking about Chris Bledsoe now. I know
Mhm.
he's had some government officials out to his property,
He is
viewing
he
their
is for
stuff.
the government. He works for
Yeah.
the government. But if you want him there, I know
Basically,
how to get him.
yeah. Yeah, I'm good friends with Chris, but
Oh, okay, yeah. So
it's
then we'll
like,
get one.
I think the point I'm making is like you wave enough blank checks at people, people can be bought. And that's
Yes.
very sad that exists. But when you understand how many levels and how compartmentalized this is,
Mhm.
these people will go to anything to stop this information coming out.
I know they will. I know
You
they
know,
will.
and that,
But if
that's
there's
sad.
enough of us, what I found out in this, if you're in the cause, if there is enough of us, then you're a little bit safer than if you're running it alone. It really you are.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so. Yeah, and there is strength in numbers, but whether we get everyone on the same page and stop this infighting that you speak about on places like UFO Twitter or X, as it's now
Well,
called.
there's a certain percentage we just have to cast out altogether is what I'm
Yeah,
like when it comes to that. But they're working. They're probably not getting paid even to do the job they're doing. They need a life and they need something else to do and they don't eat or sleep or anything. That I'm convinced of it.
yeah,
And that's what but there's always going to be that opposition. But if you can get, I mean, the people like even Corey Good and people, there's a really genuine side of him and he's been traumatized by a government program, but he's got
yeah,
true. So David Wilcox, he does too. There's other ones and James Gillian, they'll all sit on the same stage
yeah,
together because they just did this and they pull a lot of different people. And that's what we need is to pull all these
yeah,
different people so we can connect people together. And
yeah.
then we're.
Like I said to you before, I've got buddies that have been out to James's ranch, a couple of different stories, and people have said it's weird because they would see these things over. What's the mountain behind the ranch?
Oh yeah.
Where Jimmy Church saw the opening in the door, wasn't it?
Yeah. I have that
On the
picture.
other
I
side
can
of the
send you those
mountain.
pictures. Yeah, he
Yeah,
sent them to me. Yeah.
but
And it does look like a doorway. It was really weird.
yeah, so like Dave said, it's weird. As soon as you exit the property, it's like it stops. The phenomenon is
You
specific to that area.
They clear everything. James tells me they go through and like morning and night, and especially depending on who they have there, they're going through and clearing that space
Yeah.
nonstop. James is half Irish and half Native American, so he's got like
Oh,
both of
wow.
those sides to
So
him.
he's got those two traits.
Yes. Yes. So he's very much, and so he keeps that property so clear, and he's done clearings for me even, and he's picked up a lot, like, and stuff. And
Yeah.
he's like, and it's insane, but that's what they do there. Like, that is why they keep it outside of there.
Yeah. It's not stuff, but like, if people found out half the stuff that goes on there
Hmm.
and the experiences people have, not just with UAP or UFOs, but I know people that have had Bigfoot experiences out there.
Yeah. Oh, James talked about that too. He's
Yeah.
like, how the jar of peanut butter, they got to a point. He's like, they love peanut butter. He's like, they'd unscrew it and then they would even screw it back on. And
Yeah.
all that's out there too. Yes, you're right. You're right.
So,
He said, anytime I want to come, I have an open invitation to come. I said, it's not a matter of if, like, when he gets back from Hawaii, I'm going
yeah.
out there this year and I'm checking it out for myself.
Yeah. You'll have to
Definitely.
keep me updated, please.
Yes. Well, yeah, you
Very,
can come along.
very,
I would
very
get a group to
interesting.
go. For
Yeah, I
sure. He
definitely
would be
need
all
to get
about
over
it.
to the States. I'm trying to work on a friend of mine to get me access to Skinwalker Ranch at the moment, but whether that plays out, we'll see.
I can help you a little bit there. I know somebody, I think.
Okay, that
Yeah.
sounds cool.
Yeah, we'll
That
talk
sounds
behind the
cool.
scenes and then we'll see. Because I'm telling you, between the two of us, we've got some good connections where I
Got
think,
some good
yeah,
connections.
and
Yeah,
especially, yeah, you over there. And so, but I want to thank you. And I seriously would love to have you back and do a part two and
yeah,
play, if you're open to it. And I
yeah,
just want to thank you
absolutely.
so much. Tell
No,
people really
thank you.
quick where they can find you
So my
before.
page is so the Anomalies Archives. It's up on Facebook. We're on TikTok, Instagram, X. So yeah, news and media website. We try and keep up to date with everything that's going on, whether you agree with some of it or you don't. We're kind of bipartisan and kind of put everything out for you to decide.
That's
And also kind of involved with this project festival, The Unexplained. So I'm going to be co-hosting that this November. That's going to be in Worcester in
I just
England.
put the links in chat.
Thank
I
you.
have them both there. Yeah. So that gives your Facebook and it gives the direct to your where you
Awesome.
can host your, yes.
Thank you
Yes.
very much. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
hopefully we've kept your listeners tonight. I know it's kind of gone in several different directions, but I think it's all valid. I
Yes.
really do. And
It's all about connecting the dots.
it is, yeah, it is. And I'm still trying to do that myself. I don't profess to have all the
Me
answers
too.
or even some of them,
The
but
more, like you said before, the more answers you get, the more questions you have.
oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm 45. I'm no closer to the answers to
I'm
99% of
46 and
those.
I'm not in a day closer either,
Yeah,
so don't even worry about that.
but
So
no,
in
well,
closing, what would you like to leave the audience with? The audience has been thanking you and they've been really supportive.
no,
So
thank you. First and foremost, thank you to your listeners for giving me the opportunity to speak and perhaps sort of expand on some of my thoughts on this. I'm just, let's work together. More of us need to work together. What the stuff you're talking about and stuff like, I'm seeing people's questions and statements coming up from your viewers. And I agree with all of them. It's like, leave the ego at the door. Let's embark on this. And, again, everyone's kind of looking to governments or world leaders to kind of come out with disclosure. We need to be disclosure.
yes, we do. Yes, we do. I'd high five you if you're here, but
I'll send you a virtual high five, Coley. I'll
yes,
leave me hanging. Or fist
that's
bumps. We do fist
yeah,
bumps in the
fist
UK.
bumps for sure. But we'll definitely work on projects and I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to getting you back on here. So
No.
thank
Thank
you
you
for
very
your
much.
time tonight. Thank you so much. Yeah, Jay Austen is great. And I encourage, like he's saying, so much of this like is crossing. Rob, I think he'd be great on your channel. And addressing that and really connecting us. Look how we connect when we're all in chat. It's like you can cover it, but that division is just, it's not good for anybody. And I wanted to go through and thank everyone so much for your support tonight. Oh, Poncho, thank you so much. Man, I'm so sorry I missed that, but I really appreciate the support. Walter, thank you so much. Bigfoot Michigan Rob, thank you so much. Moon at Noon, I really appreciate it. And we have a new subscriber too. So, well, Weird Darkness Official, thank you and welcome to the family. So, all of it is so very much greatly appreciated. And without you, none of this would be possible. So, on behalf of SNX Radio, I would like to thank every single one of you for taking the journey into the unknown. Mystical Monday, you'll see Maya. Miss Maya, please drop your link. And Rob from Bigfoot Michigan, Rob, drop your link, you guys, and follow one another. Let's connect and let's really start to answer these questions. And I think Jay would be amazing. I'm hoping that we can, bridge that gap even between the US and the UK and get this together, because it's like, you think of it, if you have a show and you've done this and you have connections, we can link our way up. It's I mean, maybe there might be somebody here and there, but there's always somebody that knows somebody. And I think that this is a good cause. I think we need to lay this all out on the table. It's enough of the individual. This isn't a one-man band. It's not a one man's job, It's going to take the many. So again, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I appreciate each